I tend to mingle the games in my personal FNAF ranking list around from time to time, but almost constantly Help Wanted is at the top of my list. Call me shallow, half of the game is really done old stuff, and there are certainly some bottom of the barrel sections, and flat mode may just destroy any and all enjoyment from orbit. But ultimately, I find it so much fun, with so many unique ideas that blend so well into with the FNAF formula as well as VR. And thus, Help Wanted 2 being announced was something I didn't see coming and am very excited for. So with that and Ruin coming out in like 2 days as recording, I'm going to rank all the minigames in Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. Couple disclaimers. One, this is in VR mode only. I do not see the appeal of playing in flat mode. Two, I've done some generous grouping here. Levels that are similar enough will be grouped together, as well as the original 3 games. And save for Night Terrors, all entries will take their psychedelic modes into account. Am I the only one that goes in psychedelic mode? So, without further ado, let's begin with one of the lowest points in the entire franchise. You know, I think I would rather get the burn trap ending of Security Breach again than have to play through Plush Babies again. In this mode, you have a flashlight, one that recharges when it's off. You have to flash your light at these little plush babies that roam the room. If they linger for too long without you flashing them, this is actual torture. Your light's battery is incredibly limited, and if you run out, needing to wait until it's fully charged to flash it again, just hit the reset button. There's no way you're surviving that. You can flash your light like a strobe light to give you basically infinite power, but A, that's going to give you a stroke, and B, that doesn't take care of the plush babies all the way. They can appear in a wide array of areas, and the window to flash them is small. It's very small. Say you have a list of all the areas they can appear, and you all went all the way down it, and it was hiding on the very last one, it will most likely kill you before you get to it. And let me mind you, there are 3. Those fireworks, I'm just going to do this tomorrow morning. Well, at least it can't get any worse than the psychedelic. You know what, forget this mode. Let's just go to the DLC. I'm sure there's nothing really bad there. Okay, admittedly, Plushkin Patch is the best out of the 3, but not by much. I am yet to find a difference between the Plush Trap and Nightmare BB Darkroom minigames. If you weren't already tipped off enough, these are basically the Plush Trap games from FNAF 4, and they are just as fun as they sound. In VR, you can actually cheese this game by looking at the window at an angle and just wait for the silhouette to appear. And the psychedelic mode for these games are bad. Plush Traps is literally just slightly darker, and Balloon Boys is filled with balloons. Visual obstructions in your sound-based minigame. Great job, guys. Build a mangle. I don't get this game. These monitors flash parts you need to make an animatronic, and parts move across these conveyors, but the monitors change parts and the conveyors move way too fast. Also fretless. I'm honestly just confused for the most part. I only beat it for the first time with 1 second left while getting footage for this video, so I actually wasn't able to make a joke about seeking employment elsewhere. Guys, I can't believe it. They actually did it. They made FNAF 2 worse. In this iteration, power is just completely gone. Okay, it was forgiving enough in the original, so it may as well not be in there. But the camera is always on, meaning, yes, you can put one finger on the music box button, and the other is for the light and the mask. Repeat until 6 AM. Seriously, I'm surprised they were able to make the most cheesable game in the franchise even more cheesable. It's also worth noting that the Withered animatronics don't even show up until their dedicated Withered Night in psychedelic mode, which is also the only game that has a difficulty slider. They basically just teleport without any rhyme or reason. They can just show up in your office without any rhyme or reason and jump scare without any rhyme or reason. Fun times. Speaking of fun times, Funtime Foxy. It's basically the only Darkroom minigame that's tolerable. This feels like the world's slowest game of sharks and minnows. You flash your light every once in a while and trying to figure out where Funtime Foxy is and move slowly around him. I'll be honest, this can get really tense, and getting past him, yes, I said him because I play by Ultimate Custom Night rules.
It seems you couldn't make it to my show, so I brought the show to you.
Can be incredibly relieving. But there's hardly a reason to come back to this mode once you want. Psychedelic mode has you going up against a wall bit. That's cool, but that's really it. I don't think I ever died. Ignore that. Ever play 123 Slaughter Me Street? Yeah, that's this. Similar to a lot of DLC modes, this game suffers a lot from not being explained all too well. You move from one end of the hall to the other. At any time, Nightmare and Chica or Bonnie can come out of these doors and try and scare you, and also Foxy can appear in lightning, and if you're moving, he'll jump scare you, and Nightmare Freddy is behind you, and you need to keep on moving to avoid him. And yeah, that's basically it. By far the biggest trouble is Foxy. Trying to figure out what he does exactly is interesting, but other than that, there's not really a reason to come back to this mode. FNAF 1 has always been on the lower end of my ranking for the FNAF games, and similar to FNAF 2, this one isn't all much too better. Wait, while you do have power in this mode, your cameras don't take any, FNAF 2 style, so all power is tied to the lights and doors. And just like that, you can just keep your camera on Foxy, wait for animatronics to come, and shut the doors when necessary. You don't even need the lights, you can just see the animatronics outside your door. Psychedelic modes puts an Instagram filter over everything, but occasionally makes doors and lights activate on their own. Ooh. Honestly, for some reason, I was absolutely dreading going back to parts and services, but I had a lot more fun with them than I remember, even getting spooked a couple times. But the first two in particular are a little weaker. Bonnie's is probably the most generic you can get with something like this. It's simple, yet the directions are agonizingly slow.
Deposit the left eye in the cleaning receptacle on your left.
And Chica's is kind of better with finding the cupcake at the end, but that is so easy. I just ended up wanting more of it. Psychedelic mode is basically the same with fancy lights. The Bonnie one has music playing in the background that may throw off your ability to tune his guitar if you have the listening ability of an earthworm. And Chica's has an actual stacking stat that isn't in the first one, what? But again, I just wish there were more of them. In Circus Baby's Night Terror, we're in a closet.
Tom Cruise, this is Park County Police. Please come out of the closet.
This is a bit like playing animatronic chicken. Baby will spot us and we need to shut the doors before she gets to us. But if the doors are closed for too long, these devil plushies from earlier will kill us, which is basically the structure of FNAF, come to think of it. This is pretty fun and tense, but doesn't last all too long. I had fun going back to it. The finale to the base game is alright. Trapped in a maze of locations throughout the game, Pizza Party is a timed race to the finish. Basically, you follow these instructions written all around to find the way to the party. That's it. The route isn't randomized every time or everything, so there's barely a reason to go back, but the first time around can be trippy as all heck and can be really fun, but in hindsight, I had fun going back. Not a bad way to end the game. A happy ending for... Corn Maze. Oh boy. This one is fine. Probably more than anyone, this one suffers the most from lack of instruction. Basically, you are in a corn maze. You are trying to find keys. You are slow. Grim Foxy is fast. The game does not tell you that you can hide in these cardboard cutouts, and honestly, I would never have guessed this had I not looked it up. The game also doesn't tell you that you only need one key to escape, so I love banging my head against a wall for extra credit. And granted, this was how we got the fanning mask, which I don't have footage of. You can call me out for ranking the original 3 games as I would their standalone counterparts, but hear me out. Help Wanted FNAF 3 is actually not worse than the original. The gameplay hasn't really been altered whatsoever. You still lure Springtrap around with the audio cues and reboot your systems while avoiding phantoms. The office here is also by far the best. You can take a look into the vents and watch Springtrap crawl towards you as you pray that 6 AM is the one that comes after 3. And phantoms show up in the background perfectly to the point where you just don't really notice them at first and can really give you a scare. I hesitate to call this the optimal way to play FNAF 3 for 3 reasons. 1, the difficulty has been noticeably lowered. 2, there are only 4 nights of gameplay because 3, they gave us the first night fake out again without giving us another night to make up for it. Would it have been so hard? You know those Toy Story rides at Disney that no parent wants to take their kid on? Yeah, that's basically what this is. A shooty ride high score challenge with little to no suspense or danger. You may be thinking, but AJ, that sounds pretty boring. Why is it up so high? And let me tell you something, I have no idea, but this is without a doubt the minigame I've replayed the most. It's just so addicting trying to take different routes and get the highest possible score. Oh, it's so good. Honestly, don't know why FNAF doesn't go into more high score based challenge games. Of course there's Pizza Sim, Custom Nights, and a handful of fan games that do it. But high score based games fit really well into the FNAF formula, and I really wish they would do it more often. Oh well, I suddenly have an urge to go on Buzz Lightyear. Okay, this one is just way too fun. In Trick or Treat, we ring a doorbell and animatronics roam around this house, and we need to keep track of which one's behind the door and put on their respective masks before they open it. Repeat 3 times. This is easily one of the best games in the entire package. I just love peeking through the windows, keeping mental notes of who's behind the door and who's everyone or else. It's just so much fun. Now, Help Wanted doesn't have a typical FNAF 4 mode. I was upset at first, but Night Terror suffices as 4-style game mode. Save for Baby Pizza Party, these levels basically function as FNAF 4, save for a few gameplay changes, which mostly pertain to shining your light around the room. I'd say these levels get progressively stronger, with Nightmare Fredbear's basically being his night from FNAF 4, and it all works. I understand why FNAF 4 probably couldn't work in VR, but they did Dang it, I almost had that one shot. A variation of the original FNAF gameplay, Danger Keep Out feels like a fan game, a really good one. In the FNAF 1 location, the typical animatronics roam, but instead of doors, we repel them by lights in the cameras. We have limited charges and then recharge the generator once they're depleted. This is actually really cool. It's a game you can't just cheese like the original or 2. You play by their rules here. I just had very little interest in this at first because, once again, there's basically no explanation. And trial and error just doesn't blend well with FNAF games in me. But I must reiterate that this is some of the biggest amounts of stress and excitement I've gotten from this entire package. This game is so much fun. More parts and services, and these completely suffice a solid gameplay. Freddy's starts out slow but humorous, and then we get some really fun timing and precision puzzles. Foxy's is interesting where you have to find the pieces you need to repair him, while also not taking your eye off of him. So you need to use your peripheral vision to find the right pieces. You see, this is why I fail to see why people play this game in flat mode. This is easily one of the best uses of VR this game has to offer. The psychedelic modes of these two are fine. Freddy's is anti-gravity, and Foxy's fuses don't always show the right color. This was a nice idea, but I've seen it perfected in another game. We'll get to you. But, man, this really justifies the game being in VR. This is what you do best, Steel Bull. Maybe stick to it? Okay, at the time of the recording, Ruin hasn't come out yet, so maybe Steel Bull has redeemed themselves. But I'd say Dreadbear's parts and service level is a smidge above the rest. Simply because the puzzles are so much better. You have so many different things to do with the artificial brain and put in Dreadbear's head. But there's a catch. You only have so much power, and the power will run out. And you only have 3 recharges to complete the brain. Again, uber fun puzzles with a decent enough time limit, and I feel like this is really just the best kind of puzzles that FNAF has to offer. Well, I mean, except for the one thing wrong with vent repair is that there isn't more of it. There are only 2 levels, Mangle and Ennard. Mangle's level revolves around doing basic puzzles while keeping Mangle away with your light. The puzzles here are a little bit too basic for my liking, mostly they're just flipping levers. Ennard has 3 different sections with different puzzles, which are much better, but you solve them within a time limit rather than trying to keep him away. So I love the puzzles in Ennard, but I love the thrill of keeping Ennard away. You're probably wondering why this is number 1 if it's so heavily flawed. And I don't know, it's just so fun. I love putting all these different parts together. I love flipping all these different levers, and just I don't know how to explain it much further. I think Mangles is one of the best gameplay loops in FNAF ever, just keeping something away while solving a different task. And Ennards have some of the best puzzles in the game, and I just can't see all the cons through all these pros. I just love these so much, I don't know why. The psychedelic modes are a blast. Mangles essentially opens all the doors, allowing her to attack you from an angle alongside what the fetch is that? And Ennards flips the perspective upside down, which is way more disorienting than it sounds. Hopefully, with Help Wanted 2's sister location aesthetic, we'll see more like this. Oh man, if there's one thing I've learned from this and Security Breach is that Steel Bull is really good at coming up with fantastic ideas for the FNAF franchise, and just not really landing anywhere with them. This, alongside their development being split up between it and Ruin, makes me cautiously optimistic for Help Wanted 2. It has the opportunity to be a VR blast with fully fledged game modes that feel so authentic, or they can pull a Disney and continue to lose their fan base because they refuse to learn their lesson. Oh well, always look at the bright side of life. Here's to Help Wanted, an incredibly solid VR FNAF experience that may one day be expanded upon with more vent repair, less plush babies, and an entire helping of Pirate Ride. Seriously, I have no clue why I love that one. And now, we take on the next challenger. My name is AJ Plays, and next time, we seek redemption for our sins. At least I hope that's what Steel Bull was saying. I think I was on something when I wrote that.